Every time we step in here to save a life, we are exposing ourselves to potential harmful effects of ionizing radiation.
We are the occupation that is exposed to the highest amount of radiation.
I think I felt this radiation cannot hurt me.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Over 8 out of 10 of those brain cancers are going to be on the left side.
90 to 92% of all my skin cancers were on the left side of my body.
There's another type of exposure. It's wearing these lead aprons.
Ruptured disc, completely paralyzed right leg.
Muscle wasting, foot dry.
My right leg was paralyzed. I couldn't walk for over a month.
There are other technologies right now that are available.
Some of these new systems are very slick.
We as the physician community really have to speak up and have to say that you guys have to protect us.
I want to welcome everybody. My name is Bob Foster. I'm an interventional cardiologist. To my left is Dr. David Reisig, and I really appreciate him being here with me. We're going to show clips from the film Scattered Denial. Dr. Reisig is a big part of that, premiering it on April 28th.
The reaction to Scattered Denial has been nothing less than spectacular. It was released in 2024, and it was released nationally on PBS. It was really the medical community that came together to see this documentary and then to insist that we keep the momentum going.
The bottom line is the status quo is unacceptable. The goal is to create a coalition that we can drive this over the finish line.
I think Scattered Denial was amazing.
The film opened the eyes of many. So many interventional cardiologists suffer from this. And as president of SCI, my mission this past year and going forward is to help protect all of us. These sorts of technologies are available. How do you use them? We need to lay the scientific foundation that, one, they're effective, two, they're not just good, but absolutely necessary.
We provided community protection for the entire cafe. Look at those numbers. And this is what I would have gotten to my head. Every medical meeting I go to, people talk about this. People talk about the subject or the issue of radiation protection in the cardiac catheterization laboratory. People that I've never met send me emails. The momentum from societies, from physicians, from healthcare systems.
We've seen this change in awareness like I've never seen before. ORSIP, it's an educational platform that you can go to and find out who is in this space, what are the options. We're actually putting together a symposium on radiation protection. It's never been done before. We're seeing it here at SCI, where they have a whole summit of 4 hours on radiation protection and how are we going to make the change. They just came out with a multi-society consensus statement that says, for our people within our society, this is what we're demanding now.
We've gone from basically ignoring this, denying that it is a problem, to making this front and center in just a couple of years. There he is. Oh my goodness, look at you.
Over the past several decades, for those of us who have the privilege of working in the cardiac catheterization laboratory have realized that the occupational hazard of being an interventional cardiologist or a staff member working there is very high. Lots of orthopedic injuries, lots of radiation-related injuries. What there wasn't a lot of was actually data understanding why this was happening. And our study, the ErgoCath study, is a step in the direction of understanding the underlying mechanisms. What we found was that 34% of the time that cath lab operators were working, they were in a high-risk cervical flexed position. And this dramatically increases the axial load on their C-spine and downstream on their lumbar spine.
Good to see you.
Great seeing you guys, I'm telling you.
Look at that. Is that a sight for sore eyes?
Amazing, amazing.
I'm still in the hospital. I'll be here through the week. It'll be almost a month. And I've gone from literally being a functional quad to I can use an arm and hand that I couldn't use. My right leg works, but I can't walk without a walker yet. And I think I'm making a complete comeback. But this highlights the issue of lead-free radiation protection. And
Do you know anybody who's really about that?
yeah, I'm telling you, I kind of missed that train early on, but our hospital has changed their position on prioritization now. You know, my CEO has told me that I will never have to wear lead again. I didn't realize what was happening to me. I knew that I had some cord compression. It wasn't the typical sciatica. It was clumsiness of the arms and a pain in the middle of the back. It was like an incredibly deep, kind of boring pain in your spinal column. And I just laid on the floor for 15, 20 minutes. It went away. But it came back the next day, and I couldn't functionally use my arms. I couldn't stand, so I was taken to the hospital. In the hospital, I didn't know if I'd walk again. In fact, I left the hospital with a walker and went home and promptly fell down. I had no idea. The pain, frustration, dehumanization, and depression that you get from being incapacitated. And then you see your whole professional life, even worse than that, the personal life that you neglected, frankly, because of your work-life imbalance. It's an amazingly, overwhelmingly stark realization.
When I married Dean, I knew what I was getting into, but I did not expect the wear and tear of being an interventional cardiologist and what it would do to him. I think, when was your first surgery?
3 weeks after I turned 38, January of '91, Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, and we had 4 kids under 6, and it was a lot of effort for him just to put a toddler into a car seat, even in those days.
You know, Dean is a remarkable man, and he's been my friend for a long time. When Dean had his event, and obviously it was catastrophic, and I think it sent shockwaves throughout the whole interventional cardiology community. So when you watch a very close friend of yours go through something like Dean did, it has a powerful impact. Realize that could be you.
Taking care of our staff is the most important role that we do, whether the staff being our physicians or providers. A lot of the staff members are in these cases for 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, depending on what they're doing. So that has always been heavily on my mind of what can we do to prevent that.
We had technologies available in the marketplace. We were not interested in technologies that just protected one person in the room. We really wanted to protect everybody.
So this is the system we chose, and it consists of extra shielding around the patient to prevent all the scattered radiation from coming out and hitting the operators and the nurses around it. It's a work in progress. I think we have achieved a level of protection for most cases that is actually excellent, but there are certain key positions that I think remain to be, I guess, improved. They're under, still as a work in progress.
The systems we have aren't everything that we need today. They're not going to be perfect, They're not going to provide every single thing that someone would want. I don't think it's time to wait, because waiting is just going to cause more harm to our staff and to our physicians. It is really trying to tell the story of what is the impact if we don't. People want to leave, they turn over. We all know the time that it takes to train someone to be competent in the lab. It's not a short amount of time. Overall, I do believe this can be a good recruitment tool. If I was looking at it, 20 years ago, if I was younger and say I could go to a lab that has lead or I could go to one that didn't, I would absolutely want to pick the one that did not have the lead, because I think of the wear and tear on my body as a whole and that protection against the radiation.
I think all of us know that eventually we're not going to be able to work in the lab. We either become frail, or we're too old, or whatever happens. And I think you plan for that day in the back of your mind. To me, that I wasn't ready for that. It's been a road back, and it's a blessing to be able to get back.
The cat's out of the bag. There's no longer a debate about whether or not we are being occupationally exposed. We are. Scatter denial has been the foundation of our moving forward, but we have to be careful. We can't move too fast. We can't skip steps. Then we run the risk of going backwards, of taking the momentum out of this movement. We still have to move forward intelligently with great science. The days where physicians took their badge off and put it in a drawer, we can never go back to those days, because not knowing is part of the problem. It's part of the denial associated with this whole space.
I think it's imperative that we know how much radiation we're getting in real time. I think it's a great idea because it alters your behavior in the lab. When you know exactly how much radiation that you're getting with certain angles, with your table height, or with your type of procedure.
This is the badges that we use for cases. So they're color-coded, and you can wear them, typically one in the collar area, one in the waist area, like this. And as you are doing the case, you can see exactly how much radiation you're receiving.
What we're seeing in the evolution of this, the first was, hey, if we could get half of the room out of a lead apron, that was a huge win. But what we realized is there's a lot of people in the room, and every room is different. In every room, a lot of these rooms are doing different types of procedures. So they're standing in different positions, and their access to different sites. So what some of these newer technologies that actually have evolved over the last couple of years is that now we have access to more access sites, more subspecialties, covering and protecting more people in the room.
About a year or so ago, I injured my elbow pretty substantially and ended up having multiple surgeries. And when I came back to the cath lab, putting on lead and taking off lead was almost not realistic. I just couldn't do it. As a woman in this field, nothing was designed for women. Our lead doesn't fit us properly. As a result of the newer technologies that have been developed from lead-free systems in the rooms and not actually having to wear the lead, I think a lot of things have changed in the last couple of years. It gives the option that as a female, you can both have a career, have a family, and not have to worry about being exposed to the radiation.
The lead kills your back and your legs after a long day.
And you had back problems too for a while there. Yeah. My main focus was not only my own safety, but the safety of my staff in the room. I picked this particular shielding device as being my favorite device. One, because it allows the entire room to be lead-free, as well as the ease of mobility of the device. This newer iteration actually hangs from the ceiling, which is the older iteration slid underneath the table, and then the patient would lay underneath of here, and then we can raise or lower this according to the patient's body habitus. We have mobile shields that will also come out, and you can put those on either side. We have the additional lead shields under the table with these lead shields down here. You can barricade different areas off differently. There's no issues with angles with your II. We're all lead-free with the new system. So this is the real-time dosimeter, and then that's my normal radiation badge. When it first came out, folks were kind of looking into it as, does this actually work? Is this something that's gonna be something that they trust? But I think with a real-time dosimeter involved, it gave us an opportunity to gain that comfort, and then it was kind of, why are we still wearing lead?
With the newer generation devices, one of the claims that has certainly panned out in preliminary data is that you can wear lighter lead, 0.125 millimeter lead, or in some cases, no lead at all.
Pounds of armor, 0.5.
Yeah, I think a lot of us in surgery, I don't think we're quite there yet. I've never worn light lead to date. We prioritize maximizing reduction, and we'll eat the orthopedic injury. The sting or the concern of overall radiation exposure is so great that we're not willing or don't yet feel comfortable enough to rid ourselves of even lighter lead, let alone no lead at all. My interest in radiation safety came as a general surgery resident. We conducted a study wearing real-time dosimeters of all three parties, the two surgeons and the trainee. And we observed, perhaps not to his surprise, that it was the surgeon that stood immediately adjacent to the trainee absorbed significantly less radiation. It doesn't take a whole lot of intellect to turn over your shoulder and say, hey, is this because me, as the trainee, I am serving as your radiation shield? So I have concerns.
Hospitals, the fluoro machine manufacturers, why didn't any of them think of these issues? How did they all let it get to this point? I'm often asked who's to blame. Well, it's a funny answer. It's both and it's neither. Neither because we have been focused on patient care. We were so excited over the years of just being able to make patients better that we weren't thinking of safety. And the answer is both, because the minute this became an issue, the minute a safety issue was raised, it has been incumbent on hospitals and on manufacturers to address it immediately.
As an industry, we have a collective responsibility to ensure we're continuously innovating and investing in research and development to challenge the laws of physics to ensure that we can deliver optimal image quality at the lowest dose.
We're going to live flow, and you're going to see what he's seeing in real time. There it is in real time.
If you look at the evolution of our angiography systems in the industry, the doses have been considerably lowered, upwards to 60 to 80% from just 20 years ago. A lot of that is due to the constant focus on how to redesign X-ray tubes where they don't necessarily need as much power to produce the imaging necessary. In the old days, you would have to actually, for example, slide resistors in order to adjust your MA, so it was a very manual process. But now that we have what we call automatic exposure control, again, the system is automatically modifying these parameters real time.
Watch what his movements do on the screen. That's awesome.
It's almost like I like to say there's a physicist working in the X-ray tube for you.
I see this as a way of taking our foot off the accelerator.
So one way we can really reduce radiation is by using other modality imaging such as CT or MR, and we can actually bring that modality imaging into the lab to utilize whether if it's a reference point or road mapping, or using that data to then overlay on our images. So we don't have to use X-ray to use the visualization. We can use pre-procedural imaging to replace what would otherwise had to have used radiation to visualize. So you get your exact angulation in which you need to operate, send those angles to the C-arm. C-arm will automatically navigate into that position, so when you hit on fluoro, you're getting the exact projection you need, understanding the foreshortening of the vessel as well as the anatomy.
I think this is a very exciting time because everyone is feeling the accountability to support one another in ensuring scattered radiation is reduced, but also that we're coming up with solutions together to support one another in driving this movement. I mean, I think just having the conversation was the first step.
There's virtually no corner of the country that hasn't been affected by this, and it is now an expectation that the cardiac catheterization laboratory is going to be made a safer place for our healthcare workers.
All right, guys, we're good? Yep. Typically for coronary artery disease, we're on either the patient's right side or left side, but stationary. For peripheral intervention, it's a whole nother animal. Oftentimes, I'm working at the foot, I'm working at the groin, or I'm working at the wrist and I'm working at the foot, and I'm going back and forth, manipulating my wires to try to get into a true lumen of an artery that's occluded.
Patients coming in with a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm, literally dying, having already done chest compressions. They're on the operating room table. Patient is just getting intubated, breathing tube in. We get access from the groins, no incisions, and within minutes, we're able to restore improved hemodynamics. Blood pressure improves. We get a stent graft in to fix the hole in this ruptured aortic aneurysm. And our final pictures doesn't look great. We immediately, as surgeons, shift our access point up to the upper extremity. You can imagine in traditional radiation safety protection systems that are either number one, absent, or number two, extremely large and bulky, to move large, multi-100-pound devices in a patient who's actively dying in front of you. You can imagine the time, the attention, or more likely, the ability just to discount and forego that radiation safety for the task at hand to save the patient. These newer generation devices eliminate all of that mental distraction. We instantly have this passive system that does not compromise any radiation safety whatsoever, not just for me, the patient, but for everyone in the room, and allows us the seamless transition from the groin to the foot to the extremity. Very commonly with complex aortic work, we'll have upper extremity access with one surgeon, lower extremity access with another surgeon.
Having this cocoon contains all of the beam that we do not want going anywhere else except for through the patient.
We can seamlessly transition from minimally invasive approaches to open surgery, and just by removing these shields and lowering them down. The anesthesiologist or a nurse anesthetist never compromises their safety and access to the airway. This system universally protects everybody in the room.
I think every time there's a new iteration of these radiation protection devices, people start thinking about, well, how else can we advance it, or how else can we make the device better?
I think there are a lot of advancements we've made in angiography to deliver radiation protection options and solutions, whether that be within the equipment itself or in the accessory shielding solutions that we offer. But we do recognize that there's still a learning curve with regards to operators wanting to use these solutions or even knowing that they're available.
You know, we have an expression in interventional cardiology, and that is retool or retire. We've asked this question over and over again. Who's to blame? Is it industry? Is it hospital systems? Well, part of the blame also falls on physicians. Physicians have to be willing to look at new technology.
I was 4 years old when my father joined St. Francis Hospital. And, right from the beginning, the only time that you'd see him is if you come to work with him. And, it's pretty amazing to come full circle that now I'm working here as an interventionalist.
I'm Evan Schlafmitz, live from St. Francis Hospital, and I'm going to turn it over to the cath lab where Drs. Alan Jeremias and Richard Schlafmitz are.
My partners were always worried about me because I do many cases and I'm exposed to radiation over 40 years, and we know it's a cumulative thing. So I'm not the most careful when it comes to my screens and my protection.
No, you protect the back wall. That's good.
It's an important wall.
It's an important wall.
But with all seriousness, they said, look, we have this new thing we want you to try, and I'm not good at new things.
He's one of the highest volume operators in the world, and there's no question he's probably having among the highest volume exposure in the country from an occupational exposure standpoint. And the question is, what can we do to reduce that. And every time I'd bring up that discussion, his answer was, I'm not changing my workflow.
I've been doing interventional cardiology for 40 years, and every month someone's coming out with a new product, and it's wonderful, it's this, it's that. But I always tell people in industry, if something's not easy to use, it's unlikely that the masses are going to use it. When you look at radiation safety, if it's going to be something that limits me from doing what I'm going to do, and not going to happen, I'm not going to use it.
He didn't want to do anything that was going to change things because he almost didn't care about himself. And the angle that we had to come at was, well, this is to protect the staff, because the staff is his family. And when he knew that there was a solution that won't impact his workflow, can reduce exposure to the entire staff, we knew we had a potential solution.
The beauty of this particular system is it doesn't impede anything for me. It makes it user-friendly. My workflow is beautiful. I'm just doing my case.
I'm going to go to hover mode right now just before I get centered. So I'm not exposed to radiation at all right now. I'm going to be blue. I'm in hover mode.
So explain the difference between hover mode and full protection.
Hover mode lets me move the table versus full protection where you're locked and loaded.
Right.
It's pretty incredible. It really looks like a game-changing technology now available really for the first time. This is now day 3 we used it. And I mean, we feel much more secure in terms of the radiation exposure.
I'm very encouraged about it. The fact of the matter is that I've only been in the cath lab 8 years, but it takes its toll.
It is amazing that our administration and our physicians really care about us being protected so that we can continue to work and help our patients.
You guys want to come check out this new toy that we have?
We're the first generation in humankind who has stood in front of radiation for 40 years, worn 30 pounds of lead, and expected nothing to happen from it.
Yeah, try it. Why don't you hit the button?
Generically, what we need to do is to try to figure out which system gives us the maximum protection, is flexible enough to do the wide range of procedures that we do. We need to be able to get to the patient in a hurry if there's an emergency. And it has to be more or less user-friendly.
I think that having it be integrated into our workflow so it doesn't take additional time. Time is very costly. Some of the things that appeal to me about this particular design are the fact that it is able to be moved with the camera. So the fact that you can kind of use the full breadth of angles.
So I have 3 sons, and they're amazing people because of my wife. My wife really raised them. I might not have been the greatest father. I was here all the time. I worked every day.
Did you ever worry about radiation exposure, or is it just something that you're becoming aware of right now?
I did worry about it, but I knew there was no stopping my husband. He was going to do as many cases as he could possibly do, and I was just praying that the lead would work. Also, I was glad we had already made our children, so...
I hadn't really realized in all of his training what the actual career would look like and the amount of exposure. Fortunately, we got pregnant very easily and didn't have to really think much about it. I mean, I think that anybody who's exposed to that much radiation on their day-to-day in their work definitely needs to have that level of protection.
Working with my son Evan is amazing. I'm just watching him grow and the way he takes care of patients. Interventional cardiology is the greatest job in the world, and we need to be healthy to take care of them. Radiation safety is going to let us all meet that dream.
Progress, or progress in making the cath lab a safer place, is truly what I call incremental. Very much the same way as safety in the automotive industry has been incremental. When I was a kid, we didn't have seatbelts in cars. Now, cars virtually brake on their own to help prevent an accident.
I think that we should be using these technologies to reset what is allowable anymore. We always use this ALARA scheme, and ALARA is as low as reasonably achievable. Well, now we can achieve much lower levels. So many hospitals are really not compliant with ALARA because there are ways to achieve a lower level. So if it's a procedure that you can use one of these advanced technologies that allow you to go lead-free, you should do that. If you're doing procedures that those will not work, but you could reduce the lighter lead, do that. If it's procedures that you're working right on the camera and a barrier technology gets in the way, then at least provide the best and the safest lead aprons that are fitted for the person, for their size, with the right amount of attenuation for the procedures that they do, and have disposable barriers that are placed in strategic situations to lower that scatter radiation.
There are no clear guidelines that are consistent from state to state. I think the minute one state senator gets legislation that is going to mandate a safer cath lab, I think there's going to be a domino effect from state to state all around the country.
You know, this movement that we have now is a just and righteous movement, very frankly, and that's to make our workplace safe.
So far, everything we've been talking about is in the spirit of protecting the cath lab staff. But we can learn a thing or two from a specialty within our specialty, pediatric cardiology. Why? Because what often drives innovation isn't the need for occupational safety. What has driven innovation is the need to treat patients. And when you need to find new ways to protect and treat the most vulnerable patients, amazing advancements, amazing achievements can be made.
Children with congenital heart disease have a higher risk of cancer than the normal population.
Radiation, as we all know, has cumulative effects. In pediatric patients, it's even more critical because they get multitude of these cath lab procedures, radiation procedures. It's not a one-time procedure for them. That's different from an adult who has lived their entire life with minimal to no radiation and come age 60 or 70 or 80 gets a coronary artery disease-related stent. Babies' brain and heart and lungs, the rest of the body, as they go from neonates post-birth to the first 3 to 4 years of life, there is rapid changes, and during this phase, the less we do to affect any change in them, the better it is.
The vision is to replace X-ray with MRI. The real advantage with cardiac MRI is not only does it give you anatomical information, but you can really derive a lot of physiological and functional information.
In the cath lab, we are quote-unquote seeing something, but we are not really seeing. We are imagining three-dimensionality in our brain.
It's the difference between watching a television and actually seeing a person in real life.
Our team at Children's Health has been doing ICMR since 2014, 2015 or so, and have done close to 150 patients who are at the highest risk for long-term X-ray related problems. And we differ from the rest of the country or the world in our efforts being more focused on the complex congenital heart disease patients for which both MRI and cath are needed. We want to limit the total number of radiation, but we also want to capture both the MRI data and the cath lab data at the same time under the same anesthetic procedure with no radiation. We use a wire in the magnet. There is only one wire that is FDA approved here in the country to get to all the different parts of the heart. We can't take anything that is metal, which is 99% of our cath lab equipment. Some of these patients have to go to the cath lab because the technology is not there yet to do ballooning or stenting with the current magnet that we have. I'm hopeful in future though, with the low field system, there is this potential that we may be able to do those interventional procedures in the magnet itself.
Equipment is one part, but the even more important part is to have a team on board to guarantee absolute safety.
This is our MRI safety checklist. This is reminding us every moment while we are doing this procedure what needs to be done. Zone 2 is available to kind of general audience. Zone 3, we need to be limited in terms of metal equipment and will be checked. Zone 4 is the absolute safety zone, no metal equipment or nothing.
We have the patient come in this Zone 3 area where the anesthesia doctor intubates the patient, and my cath lab team will help set up the patient, and I would be able to get patient access in the groin or the neck blood vessels and then we transport the patient to zone 4 of the magnet to do the procedure.
With any technology, you have to first show that it's feasible, and I think we've achieved that.
The case that really got us to the next level is our first in the United States interventional procedure that we did as a live case. I was able to take a wire across that area and advance the catheter that was MR safe to balloon that valve. That day, we put the real eye in the ICMR. The future is bright, and it's time that we see the next revolution, and maybe that revolution is MR-based cardiac catheterization procedures.
So what are the remaining controversies? Lead, no lead, who's to blame, who's going to pay? We need more proof, inner fighting and lawsuits, and we can go on and on.
Well, I would say that everything that we do has trade-offs.
The biggest risk is the orthopedic issue.
Have you thought about getting out of lead altogether, or is it not realistic yet?
No, there's still going to be 5% scatter.
I still consider myself relatively young, but, my wife will tell me I walk like my father when I wake up in the morning.
You young guys in our field that think that that's not going to happen to them, that was me.
Don't think about your time right now in the lab. Think about what your life's going to be like when you retire. I think if you look at these technologies, it's evolving in all areas.
The light lead that we use, I could carry this with my pinky.
The reality of it is that these new advanced radiation devices have been shown in studies to actually be superior in whole body protection because they cover more of your body. So I think the key to this is if you're going to be able to tell people that they can come out of the lead apron, you've got to be able to show that with some data. If we can do that and we show you in particular, in where you are, in the hospital that you're in the system that you're using, in the procedures that you're performing, and where you stand, if we can show you that your levels of radiation are extremely low, 99% plus attenuation, then you should be able to have the option of coming out of your lead apron.
Even as a young, new attending surgeon, I had by far the highest radiation dose across the health system. What will it take for me to rid the lead? Probably disabling low back pain, because the threat, this invisible threat of radiation safety, which I long have sort of referred to as the asbestos of our generation, is too great.